Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our next session here at the Blockchain Community Day. It's our first day of our talks. Today's talk are dedicated to the topic of future and trends. And I'm your host, Alik. And our second talk today is named From Transparency to Trust, exploring the role of tokenization in enhancing human trust. And our today's esteemed guest is Sharmilan Somasundaram. It's our friend from Niftron, and we've been inviting Sharmilan for a second time. We already had a session in 2022, so please check out on our website if you are interested. And hi, Sharmilan.
Hi, Alik. Hi. Hope you can hear.
Yeah, glad to see you again, and thank you so much for joining. And I think without further ado, I will just remind our audience to leave your questions in the live chats wherever you are watching this, and we will go through the questions at the end of today's session. And I think we can now see your presentation. Yeah, you can say a couple of welcoming words, and after that, we are good to start. Good luck to you.
Sure. Thank you. And hi, everyone. So hope you guys are having a great day today and enjoying the lot of knowledgeable and valuable sessions before and after this as well. And welcome you all to the talk. And today, as mentioned in the title, I'm going to more focus on how blockchain or the tokenization and exploring the role of tokenization in enhancing the human trust. So as we have been heard about tokenization for a while, like from 2017-16 period from the CryptoKitties until now, we have seen like different type of tokenization applications and tokenization based blockchain projects. And we have seen different use cases where the tokenization applied as well. So today, I'm going to take a bit more different approach on the future or the trends on tokenization and how it's going to transform different use cases and industries in future, and also how the way that how we are building the tokenization and how that is going to be changed in the future as well, the way of creating tokenization and using that tokenization model or process inside different use cases, how it's going to transform in future and how it's going to help businesses as well as individuals to build the human trust between each other as well. So as the talk progress, so I'm going to divide these into kind of two sections. So first I'll be talk about a bit more onto the human trust and the importance of that, and then we'll be see how the evolution of tokenization from the start, and then we can see how it's going to be change in future and how that will be help different use cases and applications to get inside the blockchain and get inside the tokenization benefits as well. And also we'll be share a couple of use cases on based on our personal experience and working with different clients, how we have helped them to build that human trust using tokenization as well. So let's get into the talk. And so the most important thing, when it comes to the individuals as well as when we are interact with different applications, products, or individuals, the most important thing for us is trust. And usually, trust is very expensive thing in the world, and it takes a lot of time to build that trust with an application or just an application that we're using in the mobile phones. And same as with the products or with the brands and with the individuals as well. And if we take a bit take a moment and if you think about a bit on how the trust is important in our lives, like each of the application that we're using today, it's completely based on the trust that we are using that one. Or even if we go to an app store, like usually if we know that particular app is trustable, then we'll be install it, or else we'll be basically go through the commands or the feedbacks and we see that whether we can able to build that trust on that particular application before we get it into our hands. And similar like that on the products or the brands, usually we stick with the same products or the same brands that are producing the products throughout our lifespan. And if there's a new brand or a new product comes in, people are a bit more skeptical into trying out those things, and unless if they hear positive feedbacks or the positive reviews about that, then we'll be go and use that one. And similar like that in our lives also, we build trust with individuals, and it takes a lot of time to build that good trust, and it's a matter of seconds we can lose that trust, and it's very difficult to regain that as well. So trust plays a huge role in our lives, and we can see how blockchain is transforming that trust in individual trust as well as with the products and with the applications, and how tokenization helping on that as well. So for a simple example, if we can see, we are using, the today life, like we are using a lot of applications and a lot of mobile apps and web applications in our day-to-day lives, and that makes our lives a bit easier. So for an example, in all the times, like we usually go to movie theaters and watch the movies, or else we'll be get it in a copy that we'll be watched in televisions. But nowadays we can sit at home and we can watch any movie that we want, and then we can just go through the Netflix and we can find it. Similar like that, if we take Amazon or any online stores, like we can just place an order and we'll be get it without we are going and physically purchasing those products. Similar like that, we can find a taxi in Uber, we can connect with anyone through Facebook and other applications, social media applications. And similar like that, we can just sit in a place and we can eat whatever the food that we like from a store, and most probably that the store that we even don't know where it exists, and we don't even know the person who is delivering that, but still we can able to build that trust, and we can use those applications on day-to-day basis. And the reason that we are using these applications is always behind that applications we trust these particular brands. So for an example, we maybe not trust, or we don't have any idea about the store where it's located when we're ordering from Uber Eats, and we have never been visited to that. And same as that, we never met the person who is delivering that food as well. So if someone comes and says the same mechanism like 20, 30 years before, no one would trust that and no one would believe that one. But nowadays we are using that because we have a trust on the particular brand and the particular application, and then the way that they handle and build that trust along with the process as well. So that's why there's always a certain layer that brings that trust, or the certain entity or the brand behind that to build that trust. So all these applications, you can see there's the connection of trust, and based on the trust only, we are using these applications. So we are ordering the products, we are ordering the food, going in a taxi. So it's all kind of depends on the trust model, and that's how all these brands and things have become more successful on that as well, in a way of helping people to do certain things. And in the other side, the most important thing is building that trust to fulfill that particular need as well. So we have heard a lot about blockchain as well. I mean, I hope you have better understanding on that, and everyone knows that blockchain is the perfect technology to reinvent the way that we build trust, and it helps in a way. It helps to build a trust without trust. I mean, without depending on a certain middleman or a certain application on that, and we can easily build that trust. So this is the most important part that we're going to cover it today. So how blockchain reinvent the way we are building the trust, and how that is evolving or adapting to the tokenization model, and then how both of these can be work together and build and enhance the human trust as well. So nowadays world, as we see in all the other applications, every brand in the world is like trying different ways to build the trust with the consumers or their users. And the same as on our side, every consumer or every individual having difficulties to trust, authenticate, or verify unless we are using that for a while, or else we have a specific feedbacks or reviews coming from the other end as well. So this is the kind of evolution of trust we can see. So the first is where people lived in, I mean, just we go all the times where people lived in more close circles and close groups, then it's always they depend on trusting a specific middleman who they can, I mean, that particular middleman is bridging that trust model, and then both of these groups or individuals in that group can easily trust the other individuals in the other group because of that particular middleman, and he's building that trust bridge as well. But after a while, it's very difficult to build the trust on the middleman, so people started to build the trust on a specific organization. So for an example, this is where the banks or else law firms or insurance or a lot of other entities comes into play, where we build a trust with an individual or a group of people based on a specific organization or a specific entity. So for an example, if we wanted to transfer money, so we can, I mean, all the times we can use the one middle person to transfer it, but then based on the trust issues And the disadvantage is we trust on a specific organization, and then we trust that organization to deposit our money and then transfer to another person as well. But later on, like after mobile phones comes and mobile apps, digital transformation started to happen, the one we call it as Web 2.0, where most of the applications that we use, it always comes in a mobile or a web app model. And then that allows to individuals to directly trust on a specific thing and do a transaction based on that particular application or a specific brand behind that application. So this is the era that we have lived in Web 2.0, where always we trust in specific app like Uber Eats or Uber, Netflix, anything on that. So it's completely based on the trust that we have on that particular brand, and as well as the trust that we have on that particular application as well. That's completely on. We can see like social media apps like Facebook or Google, whenever they come or interfere, get into issues with the data privacies and policies issues, we can see the decreasing number of the users who are using that as well. So it's all based on the way that they build the trust with their consumers or the users as well. So all these things, we can see a similar pattern, but it's evolved from a individual to an entity to a digital mechanism as a mobile or web app. But all the times that we can see there's the middle layer. So it can be a middleman, entity, or a mobile application, but always there's the brand or entity or individual behind that. And that's where there's the evolution happens, but then that particular layer, it's not changed or not replaced by anything or not eliminated in a way. So that's where the blockchain comes into play mainly. So where the blockchain is ideally build that trust between two entities directly. So you can be, for an example, if we take it on a Bitcoin scenario, so you can be a specific user. You don't need to, individual, you don't need to go to a bank and deposit the money, but then you can directly transfer that to another person using your wallet, and then you can directly do it. And similar like that, you don't need to rely on a specific application. Even we are using the wallets, we are using the exchanges and all those things that comes into play. But then if you want it to be more decentralized with more less user friendliness, but then we can directly go and do it on one-to-one basis as well. But we can rely on certain applications, on certain things that build that user friendliness and easier access to these particular technologies in a way. But as the base scenario, so blockchain can allow two different parties to directly transfer that particular, make the transaction or transfer that particular valuable assets in between them. So if you ask like what is blockchain, so many people will have different perspectives or else different definitions for this. But from my point of view, blockchain is a technology that allows two different individuals or two different entities to transfer valuable assets to an untrusted party in a trusted way. The reason I'm mentioning it is as the entity. So it can be two individuals, or it can be two applications, or it can be one individual and one application. So you can put it in any form of the user side of it, and you can directly transfer that between those two parties in a trustable way. And this is why blockchain is more successful, and this is why everyone is like kind of moving into blockchain when it comes to the trust issues and different things on that. They can easily able to sort it with a blockchain because of this particular ability. And this is one of the best advantages that blockchain brings into the table of eliminating that central party. And then it's no need to be rely on that previous slide as I showed. You can evolve the trust, but then there's always the central party in that. But here you can directly eliminate that, and you can do the transactions in between that. But just for ease of use and also the easy access to these technologies and the way that people can easily adapt to these or bootstrap to this, we are using different applications as the middle layer in between. But still, those two parties can build the trust directly, even without that particular application, as all these informations we can get it from the blockchain and directly use it as well. So this is why this is the way that blockchain bringing the trust, and how blockchain transforming the way trust is built between two entities. And let's get into the tokenization part. So when it comes to the tokenization, it's there from a long period of time, and we can see fungible assets, non-fungible assets and digital and the physical assets as well. But I'm not going into deeper into these as each asset classes or the asset types. But overall, we can see like even Bitcoins or any crypto tokens or coins that we have using at the moment, it's all come from a specific way as a fungible tokens. And then we have a non-fungible tokens where the uh, CryptoKitties or it's different type of games and different type of assets comes into play. And then we have the physical assets as we have the artworks, physical real estate properties, and like ownership of the vehicles and different things we can able to credit as the digital assets. And then the other side of it where we have the fungible physical assets where the actual cash or else the gold coins or is the petrol barrels where we can able to create it as a digital assets, but then we can't able to kind of distinguish from the each type of that particular class. So we have different type of assets in here, like 4 type of it. But the part is the beauty of that is it's always possible to tokenize any of these classes. So it's not like we can only tokenize the fungible intangible ones or fungible non-fungible intangible ones or else non-fungible tangible ones, but we can able to do the fungible tangible assets as well. We can able to tokenize that, and there are a lot of use cases in petroleum, in gold, in diamond. A lot of things were already tokenized in that particular process as well. So we have already have an understanding about tokenization, and we have seen a lot of artworks and a lot of gamified assets and a lot of things are already built in this model. And those have certain advantages and certain disadvantages in each of these use cases as well. And that's what happened so far. And we have seen like all these artworks getting boomed in 2021-22 period, and we have seen like it dropped after that. It's kind of a bubble that created on that. And also still now also we can see a lot of artwork based NFTs comes into play. Like I'm talking about the digital arts. So there are certain artworks, like for an example, if you take like Mona Lisa painting or anything that is more unique and more preservative ones, so we can easily able to do it that through an NFT, and we can showcase that values and uniqueness of it. But then when it comes to digital assets, it's a bit of a different story when it comes to digital arts, which some are just created based on the boom and or the bubble process, and some other things were really attached to a specific use case, and it carries that particular values as well. But what we are going to talk today is it's not only about the tokenization, but then how we are going to do the tokenization and how we can carry a value in that particular token instead of just creating a bunch of artworks, digital artworks, and distribute to different parties and speculate that value. How we can able to do a tokenization project or attach a tokenization into a project, and how we can carry a certain value into that, and how we can increase that value of that particular token in a specific way. So that's where we comes into the most important part. If we take any of the tokenizations, it's always not about that particular token or particular NFT, for an example, carries the value, but it's the data that behind that. The more and more data that we accumulate into that particular token or particular, I mean, for an example, if you take it as, I'm taking a token in a form of, it can be an artwork, it can be a real estate, it can be a individual person identity, it can be a land property ownership document. So anything that you can put into this wording under the tokenization, it can be digital, it can be physical, it can be an fungible, non-tangible one, anything on that. But the moment that we create it as a token or tokenization process, the more and more data that we accumulate, the lifespan of that particular token increase that value and carries that value for a longer period of time. And the amount of data and the quality of that data determines all of these things in different type of use cases. And it works in a way of storing the data sets, data points and data inside the blockchain in a more efficient and more user-friendly way. And the other side is it's a way of creating a more liquidated way of representing the physical assets in a digital way. And also we can able to transfer that in a more easier manner within different parties. And it can be through the app to app can directly transfer it in autonomous way. An individual can send it to an app, or app can send it to an individual. So we can do it in many forms of the transformations or the transactions. And always that particular token or tokenization model that carries that particular data along with that as well. So this is how I'm seeing the digital evolution, comparing to how it is presented here and how it's going to change, or how it's changing already at the moment with the tokenization and with the data as well. So we have seen like Web 2.0, 2.0, 3.0, and it will come in future different 4.0 as well. So how it's going to change is, initially we had physical data or physical items, and then the first transformation is we digitize it. So for an example, I'll take you a simple use case as we take it as the land ownership of the particular property, or ownership records of a particular property. We initially had it as a physical form. Then because of the disadvantages, we digitize that and we have it as a digital version of that. And that is basically stored in a centralized way. And always when it comes to the blockchain and decentralization of Web 3.0, people always try to store that and convert that directly into the decentralization model. So that is where most of the cases where people directly moving into blockchain face issues and difficulties in their transformation, and lack of adoption with the users as well. That is mainly because they are directly jumping from centralized to decentralized, and without going through a process that it can kind of evolve for a longer period of time. And this is kind of a hard push from centralized to directly onto the decentralized, which work for certain applications, but not for all the real world current use cases, or the process that we have in centralized can directly move to decentralized. And the way I can see it is how it can easily happen, and how it worked for us with a lot of clients, and how it can help a lot of other businesses to adapt it as well. Is first they can get, I mean, if they are already digitized and already centralized, then they can directly apply that into a tokenization process rather than directly going to decentralized. So then with the tokenization, it gives them two basic advantages. One is they can able to digitize the data and the records, and they can continuously accumulate that information for a longer period of time. And also they can able to have the transfer ownership feature, that they can able to transfer it to different parties, and they can able to send across different users around the world, and that gives that liquidity aspect of it. Specifically, it works a lot. It's worked well for the a lot of use cases which have physical assets or physical items attached to that, and then it works for the digital side of it as well. And then they can slowly progress into the complete decentralization of Web 3.0, and then they can completely go into a complete decentralization model as zero trust, or else a zero trust model on that as well. So when it comes to the tokenization to add data and transfer ownership, so for an example, if you take even the land scenario, so you take the property document and you initially tokenize that one. So you can simply create it as a token with the digital version of that. And then you can continuously add the data about the informations that are mentioned in the document, or else the previous owners informations, and the modifications that particular property gone through after that. You can continuously accumulate that info, and all of those informations are kind of captured under that particular token. And then later on, you can easily able to transfer that to the new owner, or else you can directly even split that into two, and you can create two new owners on that. So you can work on a different models and different advantages of, or different versions of that particular token in different ways as well. And it works well in a lot of other use cases as well. So for an example, I'll take digital artworks. So for an example, if you see an application or NFT application that comes with a lot of different different types of cats, and they just have a different versions of it and different images of it and different assets or different items attached to that. That is the particular one project. And comparing to that, there's another project where there's the actual digital art of it, and that particular artist informations were inside that, and maybe they have recorded the way that they have created that artwork, and they have attached a lot of idea behind that artwork and a lot of information, so the techniques that they have used inside that. Then if you're comparing those two, then the second one carries more value for that particular artwork because it contains a lot of valuable data behind that and how it made, and that has the more valuable when it comes to selling it in a process as well. And at the same time, the person who is purchasing that as the secondary sales, they also can easily able to demand the price and increase the value because it contains a valuable data rather than just an image with certain information. So similar like that, if you create it as a music, you can put a lot of data behind that, digital collectibles, ticket for events, and even limited edition items that we have worked on certain projects where you can see it's not about the designer made clothes, but then you put a lot of information about who made it and what are the materials they have used, where it come from, and it's a complete supply chain of the information about that particular product, how it made, and each of the cotton or the plastic buttons, everything you can able to do a complete supply chain traceability information into that, and then you can add the information about who made it, how they made it, and even go beyond that and attach that particular person or individual's lifestyle as well. For an example, if it is a product that made in a rural village, and then you can add about who are the people working on that, how that particular brand is helping that community. So you can attach a lot of information into that, and all together that comes and represent as the digital version of that particular clothing or the designer brand cloth, and that represent in a digital way as a token which carries all of these information. So that brings a lot of value and that brings a lot of trust when it comes to a person who is viewing that one and who wants to own that one. They can directly build that trust with that particular product because there are a lot of accumulated information from different parties, and that's the way they can easily able to build that trust and transform it as well. And if you can see a lot of other things on identification and certification, where it used a lot of information about that particular individual inside the token model, and that carries as the certification process or individual identity. And real estate, as I mentioned, and the supply chain process, as I mentioned, you can carry out those informations into that. And for an example, if you can see, you have different stakeholders in a particular supply chain, input different information into that, and then that can be visible by different parties all together by representing a token as the QR code or different formats inside that particular product. They can able to see these information. And same for medical records, where individual information can be stored, and then you can able to even sell those information as on behalf of yourself to a pharmaceutical company or a research lab for the research purposes, as it's a valuable information stored under that particular token. So overall, within that time, I'm going to wrap it up. So I hope you have good understanding about the tokenization and how tokenizations evolved and transforming in a way, just not sticking with the digital artworks or just the gaming assets, but then how it transforming in a way that you can build data and then do it in a bring value to a lot of other real world use cases as well using this particular transformation. Hope you guys had a good time, and looking forward to the questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sharmilan, for bringing such an important topic up. And I mean, I like that you've been touching the topic of trust. And I think the most important questions that I would like to raise right now is to talk about the dilemma. I mean, so it seems that we all understand that there are lots of technology solutions that can make our lives easier, and that can serve as a solution for doing processes without any middleman and so on. But still, it seems like we also have a problem with our humanity, that we still don't trust each other. But the solutions, the technology part is already prepared. What's the main problem of humanity right now, as you think?
Yes, exactly. That's a good question, and that's why I was mentioned even during that transformation journey I have shown. So it's very difficult for businesses who kind of inspired or like the blockchain and or the Web 3.0, and then they quickly jumped or do a hard push from centralized to the decentralized completely, where they go on a kind of a zero trust model. That works in certain applications when it comes to kind of Bitcoin or crypto transactions, and also that works in certain ways. But when it comes to the real world use cases, it's very difficult because we have adapted to that particular way that we kind of deal with humans or else deal with certain applications, certain process on that. And always there's the kind of a middleman or a middle, I mean, a middle role or middle layer plays between those two parties as well. So that's where I feel you do a process on a tokenization and adding the data and transfer options into that. That brings space time for you and your users or the individuals to adapt to that in a way that, okay, they can see the blockchain is, I mean, it's using blockchain, it's transformed the way from centralized to decentralized, but it's not completely removed from the central man. And because all the data are captured in a way and attached to this particular process or the tokenization, that brings a lot of transparency in that process. So we don't mind, from my point of view, I don't mind having a lot of middle parties in a process that I do, but as long as there's the complete transparency and the trust I can build on that. So the moment that we get issues and the fear of using a middleman is when there's the trust issue and transparency issue. That's how happens in the past and nowadays in a lot of applications as well. So if there's a middleman or the middle entity or the middle role, like whatever, it's placed on that. As long as there's a complete transparency, it won't be an issue. And that's where the importance of data about the actions and the process that are involved in that to be transparent and to be attached to that particular token or whatever the format of that.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I think it's a good beginning of our discussion that we will be hosting in our Telegram chat. I mean, the topic is very interesting and definitely will be keeping an eye on this topic. Thank you so much, Sharmilan, for coming a second time to our conference. Thank you so much for delivering such a great presentation. I think that's it for now. We'll be switching to the next talk in a couple of moments.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Sharmilan.
Thanks
Please stay
for having
tuned.
me. See you guys. Bye.